Hey everybody, it's Brandon. So this video we're going to go over the requirements to make sure that you meet all the requirements for the check ride. So you've already scheduled the check ride. Now we want to make sure that all the requirements are made. So after my first year of giving check rides, you would be shocked how many people schedule a check ride and show up and are not eligible because they did not meet all the requirements. Maybe they were short nighttime, cross-country time. You'd be shocked how many people are short one landing and aren't able to complete that check ride or be able to start the check ride. Okay, so we're going to go over a couple of items. So first things first, how do you know if you meet the requirements? So you need to have a couple documents. So first things first, have your most current form of your FAR name. Whether it's a printed version, digital version, it doesn't matter. You need to be able to look this up, okay? So it's going to have all your requirements for your private pilot, sport pilot, instrument, commercial, all that stuff. And that's going to list all the required items. So as an examiners, we devote our entire day in order to get your check ride done. Okay, so we've been waiting on this, and then when somebody shows up and there's only 10 items that they need to get accomplished, and they're short, maybe a cross country or nighttime, you and your instructor don't rely 100% on your instructor. It's also your job as an applicant to make sure that you are ready for the check ride and you meet all the requirements. Us as an examiners, what we do is we should be the last line of defense. We have our plan of action here. We're going through and we're checking and just verifying that all the requirements are made. Because like I said, you cannot start check ride unless all the requirements have been met. Okay, so get your most current form of your FAR name, print that out, make a copy and highlight it and go through line by line and make sure that you meet all the requirements. And if there's any issues, I recommend don't just you and your instructor, always have a second, third, or fourth instructor to go through and to verify all the documents. Because nowadays there's a lot of people that are flying an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours away for a check ride, and you don't want to have your student fly 2 to 3 hours away for a check ride and be short some kind of requirement or anything like that. Okay, so get your FAR name out, go line by line to make sure all requirements have been met. I don't care if you're applying for the commercial. I would say probably the commercial is the number one check ride that I give that people are lacking the required experience in. So be sure to get that out, okay? Also, if you're showing up for a check ride and you have not seen the ACS for your check ride, or there's still some PTS versions out there for some check rides, but the majority of all the stuff you're going to be dealing with is all ACS. If you have not seen an ACS for your check ride or don't have the most current form, you have to get this out. Your entire test is based off of this. You'd be shocked how many people show up for a check ride who have never seen an ACS. Seth Lake with VSL Aviation, he's another pilot examiner up in Arkansas, does an absolute fantastic job walking you through all the different ACS and PTS topics. He breaks down each individual ACS, private pilot, instrument, commercial, kind of how the ACS works and stuff. So I'm not going to go into depth. He does a fantastic job with his video. So be sure to check that out. Seth Lake, VSL Aviation, and he'll walk you through the ACS, because while we're going through the check ride and we're either asking questions or asking you to demonstrate maneuvers and you've never seen that before, it's all here in the ACS. So make sure you're going page by page to make sure you've reviewed all those subject areas, but also all the maneuvers. You'd be shocked how many people show up for a check ride that have never heard of or have never worked with their instructor getting these maneuvers completed. So let's see what else. We got a big list here. Be very careful showing up with a bare minimum flight time for a particular license or rating. It could all boil down to, okay, this person shows up with, for example, instrument rating. They have 40 hours of simulated or actual, and I'm going through there and their instructor forgot to sign one line, or private pilot, no, commercial pilot. You'd be shocked how many people show up for a commercial pilot where, okay, they think they have 10 takeoff landings at night at Tower Airport, and they were doing them all solo. But as I dug down, I realized one or two of those was with an instructor. So they weren't all solo; they all were with an instructor. Anyway, so be careful with that. I know some people, for some reason, think I'm going to fill out my 8710 form and my logbook, and I'm going to take the check ride right at 250 hours. And then it doesn't take me long to go through and go, hey man, just so you know, this doesn't count, you know, or something like that along those lines. So just be very mindful of that. It doesn't take much, you know, to find a mistake somewhere. So just be careful of that, because like I said, I don't want, our job as examiners is do everything we can to get this check ride going and get it accomplished. What I would feel terrible about is you spend all the time, you took your day off work or whatever, you show up for the check ride, you've rented the plane, you're already flown up for the check ride, and just to find out that we couldn't do the check ride because we were short a little time. Because a lot of times when you schedule a check ride, it might be another month before it actually starts. So there's plenty of time to go out and do additional training and stuff. So there's that. Pilot documents, make sure you have a current form of your photo ID. I've had 3 check rides this year that couldn't start because they showed up and their photo IDs were expired. Make sure your pilot certificate is signed on the back. So that's very common. And also the medical certificate. Also on the medical certificate, there is kind of the guts of it that states, hey, this is the medical that was performed, there's the doctor, the date it was performed, and your signature. And also there's that additional tag that states the limitations of your medical. So make sure that was not cut off, that's a complete document, okay? I've had some that they cut that off. They said it said cut here, but actually said it's fold there. Okay. Pilot logbook. Make sure you just go through that. Make sure that every individual flight line has been signed. That maybe you didn't fly 20 hours with an instructor and he only signed 5 of it or something. You know, I've seen that before. Make sure that all the totals of your logbook are correctly tallied up and are correct. Make sure all the endorsements are all in the back. Also for like private pilot, if you're going for your private pilot license and okay, so you soloed these dates and you did these solo cross countries, make sure that your cross country solos endorsements were covering those solo flights and also those cross country flights. Because if somebody shows up and they did a solo cross country, but looking back in the logbook, I couldn't tell that there was ever a solo cross country endorsement given, then we'll run into some issues there. Also, when it comes back to the endorsements, so the FAA released the newest version of the advisory circular, 6165 Juliet is now the most current. So make sure that you and your instructor are going through that, make sure all the check ride endorsements are all covered. Don't forget to log ground instructions. So for like the private pilot stuff, there's 61.105 and 61.107, and if you read the verbiage, it clearly states that you must receive and log flight and ground training covering those areas and stuff. So that's common where somebody will show up for a check ride, they go, oh, flight experience, but there's not anything logged anywhere. Another thing that a lot of people miss before I forget is going back to the ACS. In the ACS, it's going to have a list of required items that you need to bring to your check ride. I've seen a lot of people that show up for a check ride, and whether it's a private check ride, whether it's an instrument check ride, and I'm going through my plan of action, and we get to, hey, you brought your current charts, whether they're electronic version, paper version, doesn't matter, you know, and you've also brought your foggles, or hood device or anything like that, and they go, well, wait a second, I didn't know I was supposed to bring those. So be sure that you, not only the paperwork's good, but also the required items you need to bring is good. So like I said, in the ACS, we'll have that list and explain, hey, it's up to you to bring view limiting device, it's required to bring current charts, you know, and whatnot. So be sure to go through that. I always went through that 2 or 3 days before. and just made sure that I had everything lined out, everything was squared away, and then I put it all into one bag. So I knew whenever I'd walk out to the car that morning, drive to the airport to go for my check ride, I had all the required items and stuff like that. All right, another thing that we got to make sure is make sure that you have all the required aircraft documentation and inspection sign-offs and all that stuff. I haven't run into too much of an issue with aircraft stuff. Most of the stuff is pretty good. There is one thing with the airworthiness directive sign off. So the FAA is real clear. If you look at 9147 Alpha 25, it clearly states that you can't just have like a 100-hour inspection or an annual inspection that says all ADs are current or complied with. If everybody brings up that regulation number or takes that to their mechanic, it clearly states that you have to have each AD listed out and whether it's been complied with or not. And if it's been complied with, is it a one-time or is it a reoccurring AD? And when is the AD required to be complied with again? Okay, so most people, you shouldn't have a problem getting a list of ADs that were signed off at the annual or 100-hour inspection from your mechanic. Different logbooks, there's different things. So like personally, I use AD log. It's a fantastic way to keep up with all your aircraft logbooks. So what they do is you give them, when you initially subscribe to it, you give them all the aircraft information. They print out every single AD that was ever issued for that aircraft, that engine, that propeller, and not just that, they have ADs relating to like a Garmin 430, a United altimeter, such and such ELT, and it gets very, very specific. And it's each AD will have its own sheet and with the instructions on it, and you can sign that off. And so you'll have a big stack of already complied with ADs that are a one-time AD or maybe aren't applicable to that aircraft. And then you'll have another list of recurring ADs. And then with that AD service, you're paying, I think, around $40 a year. If there was ever an AD issued, a new AD issued for any of that aircraft, engine, propeller, or any components, then they will immediately print that out and send that to you, since it will affect that airplane. So, like I said, the aircraft documents haven't been that bad. It's just everybody look up that regulation number and be familiar with that. Other than that, that's about it. So I'm going to do another little video about, okay, you show up for the check ride, what to expect. It's going to be like a test overview. So we have a plan of action that we have to follow, and it states all the certain things we got to get done and stuff like that. So I'll make a little video here shortly on that. So anyway, hopefully that helps prepare you guys. The main thing is do your due diligence if you're the applicant. Don't trust just your instructor because people miss things. I've put so much time and effort into check rides to help students out and stuff, and the best thing that I ever did was hire more instructors on, and we would always share, like, hey man, check out his logbook. Am I missing anything? Oh, I can't believe I missed that. Thank you for catching that. And it's because when you show up, it's great to build that relationship with that examiner and just have the paperwork stuff go through flawlessly and stuff. So anyway, hopefully this video helped you out, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks.